found my husband and our neighbor in our bathtub surrounded by candles and rose petals, so I locked the door, walked away smiling, and by the time they got out, I had already destroyed everything they thought they'd built behind my back. The bathroom door was cracked open just an inch, just enough for me to see the flicker of candlelight dancing across the hallway wall, just enough to hear the low murmur of my husband's voice, softer than I'd heard it in years, followed by a woman's laugh I recognized instantly. My hand was on the doorknob, my heart was a stone in my chest. I pushed it open slowly, so slowly, and there they were. David, my husband of 23 years, the man who'd promised to love me through sickness and health, through better and worse. He was in our bathtub, the one I scrubbed every Saturday morning while he watched ESPN in his recliner. And Cheryl, our neighbor from 3 houses down, the woman who'd borrowed my casserole dish 6 times and never once returned it, the woman who'd sat at my kitchen table drinking my coffee, complaining about her divorce, crying on my shoulder about how hard it was to be alone. They didn't see me at first. The bathroom was full of candles, votives lined up along the edge of the tub, on the counter, on the closed toilet seat. Rose petals floated in the water between them. 2 wine glasses sat on the bath mat, half empty, lipstick stain on one rim. David's arm was draped over the side of the tub. Cheryl's head was tilted back, her damp hair clinging to her shoulders. They looked peaceful, content, like this was something they did every Tuesday evening while I was supposedly at book club. Except I hadn't gone to book club. I'd turned around 10 minutes after leaving because I'd forgotten my reading glasses. The breath left my body in one long, silent exhale. And then I don't know what came over me. I smiled. I stepped back into the hallway, pulled the door closed, heard the soft click of the latch catching. And then I locked it from the outside with the little skeleton key we kept on the top of the doorframe, the one David didn't know I knew about. I locked my husband and my neighbor inside our bathroom, and I walked away. My name is Margaret Ann Holloway. I'm 54 years old, and I'm telling you this story today because I need you to understand something. I wasn't always the woman who could lock a door and smile. I used to be the woman who apologized when someone stepped on my foot. I used to be the woman who made excuses for people who didn't deserve them. But that version of me died the moment I saw those rose petals. Let me take you back, not to that bathroom, we'll get there again, I promise, but to the beginning, to the moment I should have seen this coming. It was March 2023, early spring in Dayton, Ohio. The kind of weather where you still need a jacket in the morning, but by 2 p.m. you're peeling it off in the Target parking lot. I remember because I'd just gotten back from picking up groceries, $287 for the week, which felt like highway robbery for what amounted to chicken breasts, bagged salads, and the same box of Cheerios I'd been buying for 30 years. I came home, arms loaded with reusable grocery bags, because God forbid I use plastic and have my sister Kelly lecture me about the environment again, and I saw Cheryl standing in our driveway. She was crying. I set the bags down on the hood of my car, ice cream be damned, and went to her. "Cheryl, honey, what's wrong?" She looked up at me with those big, wet eyes, mascara streaking down her face. "It's Brad," she said, voice cracking. "He's really leaving me, Margaret. The divorce is final next month." Brad was her husband, ex-husband, a middle management guy at a manufacturing plant who'd apparently been cheating on her for 2 years with someone from his office. I'd heard the whole story over coffee at least a dozen times. "Oh, sweetheart," I said, pulling her into a hug. "I'm so sorry, come inside, I'll make us some tea." She followed me in. David was at work. He managed a car dealership and usually didn't get home until 6 or 7. I made chamomile tea, the kind that smells like apples and makes you feel like everything's going to be okay even when it's not. Cheryl sat at my kitchen table, the same oak one my mother-in-law had given us when we got married, and she cried into her mug. "I don't know what I'm going to do," she said. "I'm 49 years old, Margaret. I'm starting over. I don't even know who I am without him." I reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "You're going to be fine. You're strong. You're going to get through this." She looked at me like I was a saint, like I was the only person in the world who understood her. And I believed her. I believed every word. I believed she was my friend. That was my first mistake. You need to understand something about my family, about the way I grew up, because none of it makes sense without that context. I have a younger sister, Kelly. She's 50 now, but she'll always be the baby, the golden child, the one my mother doted on while I was expected to be responsible, reliable, boring. Growing up, Kelly got the new clothes. I got the hand-me-downs. Kelly got piano lessons. I got told to help your mother with dinner. Kelly went to Duke on a full ride. My parents insisted on supplementing with an extra $20,000 a year for living expenses. I went to community college and worked nights at Denny's to pay for it myself. My mother, Patricia Ann Caldwell, a woman who could smile at you while simultaneously making you feel like you were never quite enough, always had an explanation. Margaret, you're just more practical. You don't need those things. Kelly's more sensitive. She needs extra support. You've always been the strong one, Margaret. You'll be fine. And I was fine. I became fine. I became the woman who didn't ask for help, who didn't complain, who worked 2 jobs while David built his career, who put off having kids until we were stable, which turned out to mean never because by the time we could afford it, my body had other plans. 3 miscarriages, 2 rounds of IVF, a doctor who finally told me as gently as he could that it wasn't going to happen. I cried for a week. David held me once. After that, he just stopped trying. And life went on. We became the couple who showed up to family gatherings with expensive wine and no stories about soccer games or parent-teacher conferences. We became the couple who took quiet vacations and never had to rearrange our lives around school schedules. We became the couple everyone assumed was fine. The first time I felt something was wrong, I mean really wrong, was in October of last year. David had been distant for months, coming home late, spending more time on his phone, but I chalked it up to work stress. The dealership was struggling, everyone was struggling. Inflation, high interest rates. People holding onto their cars longer. I got it. Then one night I was doing laundry, because that's what I do. I do the laundry, the grocery shopping, the cooking, the cleaning, all while working full-time as an office manager at a dental practice, and I found a receipt in his jeans pocket. Dinner at the Vineyard, our nicest restaurant in town, $230. I stared at that receipt for a long time. We hadn't been to the Vineyard together in over a year. David always said it was too expensive, that we should save our money. But someone had eaten a $48 filet mignon and drunk a $75 bottle of wine. I confronted him that night, calmly. I'd learned a long time ago that yelling got you nowhere with David. "Hey, I found this receipt," I said, holding it up. "Were you at the Vineyard recently?" He barely looked up from his laptop. Work dinner, took a client out. A $230 client dinner. "Margaret, I'm trying to close a deal. It's called investing in relationships." He said it like I was an idiot, like I didn't understand how business worked. I let it go. That was my second mistake. The next few months were a blur of small, strange moments. David started going to the gym. He'd never been a gym guy. He bought new cologne, started whitening his teeth, grew his hair out a little longer, styled it with some product I didn't recognize. Midlife crisis, my mother said when I mentioned it over Sunday brunch at her house. Kelly was there too, picking at her egg white omelette and scrolling through her phone. Men go through phases, Mom continued, sipping her mimosa. Your father did the same thing, bought a motorcycle, got over it in 6 months. Kelly looked up. Maybe he's just trying to take care of himself, Margaret. You could try being supportive. I bit the inside of my cheek, tasted blood. I am supportive. Are you though? Kelly set her phone down, leaning forward like she was about to deliver some profound wisdom. Because sometimes women let themselves go and then they're shocked when their husbands lose interest. My mother didn't say anything. She didn't have to. The silence was agreement enough. I excused myself to the bathroom and cried silently into a hand towel that smelled like lavender potpourri. In February, something happened that should have been the final straw. My father passed away, heart attack, sudden. He was 76. I was the one who found him. I'd stopped by their house to drop off some leftovers, because that's what I do, I take care of people. And he was in his recliner, TV still on, eyes open but not seeing anything anymore. I called 911, held his hand while we waited for the ambulance even though I knew he was already gone. At the funeral, Kelly sobbed dramatically in the front row. My mother clutched her hand, whispering comforts. I sat 2 seats away, dry-eyed, staring at the casket. After the service, during the reception at my mother's house, I overheard them in the kitchen. "Poor Kelly," my mother was saying, "she took it so hard." "She was always Daddy's girl," someone replied. I walked away before I heard the rest. That night, David didn't ask me if I was okay. He fell asleep on the couch watching SportsCenter. 2 weeks after the funeral, my mother called me. "Margaret, I need to talk to you about your father's estate." I was at work on my lunch break eating a sad desk salad. "Okay." "He left the house to Kelly." I stopped chewing. "What?" "The house, he left it to Kelly. It's in the will." "But why?" "Because Kelly has children, Margaret. She needs the space. You and David have that nice 3-bedroom. You don't need another property." Kelly had 2 kids, both in college, both living in dorms. "Mom, that doesn't..." "There's also the matter of the savings account. Your father had $150,000 set aside. He split it. $100,000 to Kelly, $50,000 to you." The room tilted. "Why?" "Margaret, don't be difficult. Kelly has more expenses, tuition, you know, and you don't have children, you don't understand." I hung up. I sat in my car in the dental office parking lot and I screamed. Just screamed until my throat was raw. When I got home, I told David. He shrugged. "That sucks, babe, but honestly, $50,000 is still pretty good." I stared at him. "Pretty good?" "Yeah, we can finally redo the basement." The basement, he wanted to use my inheritance, the only thing my father left me, to redo the fucking basement. That's when I started paying attention. Really paying attention. I started noticing the way David's phone was always face down, the way he'd leave the room to take calls, the way he'd come home smelling like perfume that wasn't mine. I started checking the bank statements, noticed charges I didn't recognize, hotels, restaurants, flowers I never received. And then one Tuesday in late April, I came home early from book club. I'd forgotten my reading glasses, and I found them in the bathtub. When I locked that door, I didn't have a plan, not really. I just knew I was done. Done being the woman who made excuses, done being the woman who put everyone else first, done being Margaret the reliable. I stood in the hallway for a moment, listening to them laugh inside. And then I walked downstairs, poured myself a glass of the expensive red wine David had been saving for a special occasion, and I started making phone calls. First, I called a lawyer, told her everything, the affair, the financial discrepancies, the way David had been moving money around for months. Then I called a locksmith, had him come change every lock in the house. Then I called my bank, moved half of our joint savings into an account only I could access. And then I sat down at our dining room table with my laptop, and I did something I should have done years ago. I logged into David's email. He'd never changed his password. It was still the same one from 2008, Buckeyes 1999. It took me less than 10 minutes to find everything. Emails to Cheryl going back 18 months, reservations at hotels, Venmo payments with little heart emojis, plans to leave me, plans to move in together once her divorce was final. And then I found something else. An email from Kelly. To David. Dated 3 months ago. "David, I know this is hard, but Margaret doesn't need to know about the college fund. She'll never understand. Just keep doing what you're doing. Once this is done, we can all move forward." The college fund. My father's college fund. The one he'd set up for me when I was 16. The one he'd promised would be there if I ever needed it. The one I'd forgotten about until right now. I opened another tab, logged into the estate attorney's portal using my mother's information, password, Kelly1973, because of course it was. And there it was. A college fund in my name, $85,000. Emptied 2 months before my father died. Transferred to Kelly's account. With my mother's approval. And David had known. I don't know how long I sat there. It could have been 10 minutes, could have been an hour. At some point, I heard pounding from upstairs. David's voice, Margaret, open the door. Cheryl's voice, this isn't funny, let us out. I took another sip of wine. Let them pound. By the time the locksmith arrived, they'd been in there for 3 hours. He looked at me confused. You want me to change the locks while someone's inside? Just the front door, the back door, and my bedroom, I said calmly. They'll get out eventually. The bathroom window opens. He raised his eyebrows but didn't argue. Cash is cash. I heard the window slide open around midnight. Heard David cursing as he tried to climb through. Heard Cheryl yelp as she slipped on the roof shingles. I was in bed by then, door locked, reading a book I'd been meaning to finish for months. David came to the house the next morning, pounded on the door. I didn't answer. He called me 63 times that day. I know because I counted. I didn't answer. The day after that, he showed up with Kelly. I answered that time. Opened the door, looked at both of them standing on my porch and smiled. Hey guys, what's up? Kelly pushed past me into the house. Margaret, what the hell is wrong with you? Nothing's why. You locked David in the bathroom. With Cheryl, are you insane? I turned to David. He looked exhausted. Good. You're having an affair, I said simply. He opened his mouth, closed it. Margaret. And you, I turned to Kelly. You stole my college fund. Her face went white. I don't know what. $85,000. Dad left it for me, you and Mom took it, and David knew. The silence was deafening. Kelly recovered first, she always did. That money was allocated for my kids' education. You don't even have kids, Margaret. What would you need it for? It was mine. You're being selfish. And there it was, the same script, the same tired, worn-out excuse they'd been using my entire life. Get out, I said quietly. Margaret, David started. Get out. The divorce took 6 months. I got the house, half his pension, alimony. Cheryl's ex-husband found out about the affair and sued her for alienation of affection. Apparently that's still a thing in Ohio. She lost her settlement in her own divorce, had to sell her house, moved 2 towns over. David moved in with Kelly temporarily. That lasted 3 weeks before she kicked him out. He's in an apartment now somewhere near the dealership. My mother tried to call me once, I didn't answer. She sent a card at Christmas, I threw it away. Kelly sent an email in September. Subject line, we need to talk. I deleted it without reading it. The thing is, I didn't destroy them. They destroyed themselves. I just stopped protecting them from the consequences. I stopped being the woman who absorbed everyone else's damage and called it love. I stopped setting myself on fire to keep other people warm. And you know what happened? I started living. I took that $50,000 inheritance and I went to Ireland, stayed for 3 weeks, saw the cliffs of Moher, drank Guinness in a pub in Galway, kissed a man named Liam who told me I had beautiful eyes. I started painting again, something I hadn't done since college. I joined a real book club, made actual friends. I stopped apologizing for taking up space. Last month I ran into Cheryl at the grocery store. She looked tired, older. She saw me, started to turn her cart around. Cheryl, I called. She stopped, turned slowly. I walked up to her, looked her right in the eyes and said, I hope it was worth it. Then I walked away. I didn't need her to answer. I already knew. To you, reading this, if you've ever been the woman who gives and gives until there's nothing left, if you've ever been the daughter who was told she was too much or not enough, if you've ever been the wife who ignored her own instincts because it was easier than facing the truth, hear me. You are not required to set yourself on fire to keep anyone warm. You are not responsible for managing other people's emotions, mistakes, or selfishness. You are allowed to lock the door. You are allowed to walk away. You are allowed to choose yourself. And when you do, when you finally put yourself first, you might lose people you thought loved you, people you thought you couldn't live without. But here's what you'll gain. Yourself. Your peace, your dignity, your life. And that, my darling, is worth more than all the rose petals in the world. Lock the door. Walk away. And smiled. You've earned it.